In a globalized world, many shippers and carriers with large investments in transportation equipment are facing the challenge of managing huge amounts of transportation resources, such as rail cars. Some of the main questions they have include: how can we optimize our transportation resources? How can we provide our customers with better service and reduce the cost of operations at the same time? SAP Transportation Resource Planning provides answers to these questions. SAP Transportation Resource Planning helps to transform your business model to dramatically increase the visibility of transportation resources in stock and in transit. You benefit from enhanced computation models to determine the current and forecasted supply and demand of empty resources faster and help you avoid cost-intensive repositioning. Finally, you profit from lower costs by optimizing the transportation and empty resources to fulfill customer demand at the right time and in the right locations. Let's take a look at how SAP Transportation Resource Planning helps you meet these challenges. To start with, you may need more information about the general stock and distribution of your transportation resources. How can I increase the visibility of my transportation resources? With SAP Transportation Resource Planning, you can check for surplus and deficit situations by resource type in selected locations. Get detailed alerts about critical situations. To start with, you want to monitor the general stock and distribution of your rail cars. You log into SAP Transportation Resource Planning. The home page shows several tiles that are set up to show important information. You find that in Paris, the stock for some railcar types is below the safety stock level. Now you want more comprehensive stock information. In the stock view, you can select a location to check its stock information. Using the bar chart view, you can easily find out whether you have a stock deficit or surplus and drill down to check the data for each railcar type. The map view shows the location of the depots that have alerts. In the status view, you can use the bubble charts to compare the current stock of a location with the set minimum and maximum stock. In the details view, you can find more detailed information about your stock. To get information about an upcoming surplus or deficit situation, you need forecasted data about both supply and demand. How can I get a reliable forecast of my future supply and demand situation? SAP Transportation Resource Planning integrates enhanced computation models to forecast the supply and demand levels of empty transportation resources. With SAP Transportation Resource Planning, you can check the forecasted supply and demand situation in selected locations. You can switch to the Alert, Status, and Detail view on the map to compare the supply and demand in all locations and resource types. In the Supply and Demand Work Center, you receive alerts about imbalances in supply and demand. You can click a quantity to check the exact makeup of each supply or demand. The green slice in the pie chart shows that the demand comes from empty pickup. Click here to go right to the Transportation Demand view. Here you see related transportation units in your SAP TM system or other logistics system. You can even access your logistics system to view details about the transportation units. Now I have a clearer view of the supply and demand situation for my empty resources. Now how can I avoid the repositioning of empties and increase the utilization of my resources? How can I reduce the cost per resource? SAP Transportation Resource Planning provides two features for optimizing the supply and demand of your resources: resource balancing and pickup and return optimization. You can create, compare, and evaluate different scenarios for correcting an imbalanced supply and demand situation by resource balancing. Then check the different balancing costs. Once you've decided upon the best scenario, you can finalize it. The activities are sent to your SAP Transportation Management System for execution. Now let's go to the Resource Balancing Work Center to correct supply and demand imbalance issues. First, create a balancing simulation. Choose a supply and demand plan and a network setting group. The area at the left shows the same supply and demand data by location and resource type that you saw before. There are quite a few imbalances. You want the system to suggest activities for correcting these imbalances. Now you run automatic balancing. Then you receive a set of suggested activities for empty repositioning. Then you can update your simulation data to see how these activities affect the imbalances. This gets rid of most of the alerts, but the first location is still showing an imbalance for supply and demand. Maybe you need a route for moving rail cars from the surplus location to the deficit location. Let's check that in the side panel. The route does not exist. However, you can create a route to connect the two locations. First, you create a single-stage path in the current network model. Enter a means of transport, a carrier, distance and duration, and then refresh your totals. Now add a departure rule for the path. Choose a time zone and the train will set off at 8 a.m. daily. Finally, specify the number of rail cars that can be carried by each departure, then save your single-stage path. Now you can update the list of multi-stage paths. This generates a multi-stage path using your new single-stage path. When you go to the side panel, the new routes are ready for use. Now you can run automatic balancing with your new routes and update your simulation results. Thanks to the new routes, the supply and demand status is now completely balanced. If you're satisfied with the results, you can finalize the simulation and send the activities to your logistics system for execution. For each activity, you can also check the corresponding transportation units created in your logistics system. In the Pickup and Return Work Center, you need to create a pickup or return rule set. Then you can have the system perform automatic optimization. Or you can make assignments manually, using the location suggested by the system as a basis. In either case, the updated pickup and return locations will be sent to your SAP Transportation Management System and executed there. For each empty booking, you want to find the optimal location for pickup or return of the empty rail cars. You want high efficiency and low costs. You can do this in the Pickup and Return Work Center. First, you need a rule set. You use rule sets to find the transportation units to be processed and to get suggested pickup or return locations. You can set up a rule set before you begin optimizing. Then you can select the rule set in the Location Assignment view. Now run automatic optimization. New pickup locations are suggested for all of the transportation units. You can also assign a location manually. Highlight a transportation unit, evaluate the suggested locations ranked in the table below, and then choose a location to assign. Finally, click Update in Logistics System. This sends the new assignments to your logistics system. The changes are executed there. Your transportation resources contain many KPIs. Can I monitor resource-related KPIs? Yes, you can. In the Home Work Center, you can monitor alerts, idle rates, and the supply and demand situation in your locations, and also receive notifications about critical situations. SAP Transportation Resource Planning delivers support for planning, managing, and optimizing the use of your transportation resources. It ensures that the right resources are available to fulfill your customers' demands at the right time, in the right place, and at a minimal cost. SAP Transportation Resource Planning makes a difference for your business.